washing simulator.
So you're what? How do you know that?
Because I watch Markiplier play it like all the time. It was really fun.
Oh my god, pressure washer simulator. We live in a simulation.
It's game theory.
Thanks for watching.
Will, your camera's is where you at, bro?
I just
Are you putting a shirt
nose.
on?
Yeah, because I wasn't wearing a shirt before. No, I blew my nose.
Oh, now we're live. Okay.
Bro, we've been live for 32 seconds, bro. They heard everything you said, Grayson.
What did I say?
About pressure washing.
They can't hear us. What are you talking about?
Will
Grayson said
shirtless.
some really bad stuff about Swedish people. I don't know what his deal is, but that's what
Yeah,
such a
bro.
specific accusation.
You're never going back to Sweden again.
Never again, dude.
Crap, what is my link tree, bro? I don't remember.
Is it Linktree/Sweden hater?
Dude, yeah, every time I saw PewDiePie, I went to IKEA and I was like, I'm done.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
You don't know what PewDiePie or IKEA is?
I hate
know
you
that.
and your meatballs.
I know IKEA.
Okay, good. You don't know PewDiePie?
No, what's that?
He was like the number one
Oh
most
my
subscribed.
God!
That's crazy, dude.
He's the number one what?
I feel like that he was like the number one YouTube guy for like a decade.
And what does he do?
I mean, he was a gaming channel.
Yeah, Minecraft and
I don't like Minecraft.
He didn't really do a whole lot. He mainly did horror stuff. He did eventually do a
Minecraft. Freddy's.
That was more Mark, but yeah.
but he did all that crap. And then he
did.
used some words that he wasn't allowed to use. And
Well, one specifically.
yeah.
Fill in the gaps.
Oh, was it this word right
That was-
here?
At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi.
I had no idea what you were about to press, and I was
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bad Batch Secrets, Dark Side Secrets with me, Tony, Will, and Grayson from Mortis FM. What's up, fellas?
Howdy, howdy.
hey.
Bad
How you
Batch
got-
double feature.
How you guys feeling today after those 2 episodes?
Defeated.
Depressed.
Throwing a can out
Yo.
the window.
It was sad, bro. That little baby that he stole, I was like, yo, that's sad.
Yeah,
That was
I'm-
sad as
Is
shit.
Cad Bane the number one op now? Maybe.
Bro, he's been doing this since Clone Wars, bro. The minute
It's true. He did do the what? Yeah.
the minute that kid threw the vase, I knew Cad Bane was coming to take him because that's all he does is steal babies. He steals babies and he fights Kenobi and Anakin and loses all the time. That's all
Was
he
it-
does.
Super random. Was that planet for any Fallen Order people? It looked very similar to one of the first planets you go to in Fallen Order. Not Bogano. What is the?
Zepho?
Is it Zepho?
Somebody commented on one of my reactions. It was that Zepho from Fallen Order. So
Looks like
I
it.
wonder if it is. That's kind of a cool tie-in. If that
It's-
really is that game.
That would be like the second or third Jedi Survivor Fallen Order tie-in because they had
Braca.
there was Braca.
Yep.
And then even in season 2, there was the giant Zepho dinosaur thing.
Yeah.
But was it? Is it Zepho? It's the. Is it Zepho? Is that the? I don't know. People who played Fallen Order, they would know. I think you're right.
Zepho was in Ahsoka too, right? Wasn't there Zepho stuff at the over there?
It was Kujet. Yeah, he was like the one that enslaved all of the Zephonians and had like a temple of Dathomir.
Yeah, you bastard. So let's shout out the comments real quick, and then we're gonna get into it because those episodes were juicy.
They were.
Dan, what up? Dan's not wearing a shirt. Boys, Bad Batch is cooking right now, baby. Let's go.
Off the top rope, out of nowhere.
Clone Slayer 66, what up? Yo, I have to ask, can we get a spin-off for Fat Mace Windu? How you doing, Tony?
Dude, when he came back today, and I was like, oh, that's Fat Mace Windu. That's the one that Tony always talks about.
Yeah, man. Fat Mace, baby. Somehow Fat Mace returned.
What is his real name? Like, they said it again. I'm already blanking.
Something.
I know what it is. I'll figure it out. Let me Google it.
Tyler Grubbs, what up? What's up, Bad Batch? We're fired today. 9 out of 10 for my rating. Yes.
Very good episodes.
Fairy Wings, what's up? 2 Fav episodes. Let's go. This is the way Sid haters are greater than Palpatine. Sid redemption arc looks less likely every second. Did you guys catch that? The clone guy was referencing Sid.
Yeah. I spoke to the
thought Boss.
Trandoshan.
I thought Bosk. I was thinking Boss right away because bounty hunters and stuff. But it probably was Sid's scumbag ass, right?
Oh, definitely. Like, there's nobody else who would know what they're up to and like, or know who what's her name is. Wanda Sykes.
Wanda
What's her
Sykes.
name?
Oh, Fee.
Yeah. So
what up, Zeus? God of something, God of gods, right? Zeus, what up?
Zeus is
lightning. He's the king of the gods, but also lightning.
Yeah. Is it lightning or is it? Yeah, I guess so.
So, out of the 2 episodes, which episode did you guys like better? What was your favorite out of the 2?
First one, I think.
Me too. Me too.
Identity Crisis.
Yeah. So, Identity Crisis. Grayson, tell us your thoughts on that first episode. Don't be nervous.
It was definitely probably like the closest to those first 3 episodes that we got. Well, at least like the first and the third, like from the premiere, which I really liked. But I liked that we got a heavy emphasis on Emery Carr, who's someone that we've really not got a lot of this season, and I've been very curious on her. And I think ever since her connection with kind of her creating some empathy with Omega in that premiere, we're now starting to see that with these other kids. And when initially when she got promoted to chief scientist, I was like, okay, we're gonna see the inside of the vault with like. But then they're like, no, here's these 3 kids we've had this whole time, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. But it was good. I loved it, and I think, but the episode just kind of cut to like a hard black after. I don't know. Anyway, I'm ranting. We'll talk about it. It was good.
Yeah, Will, what'd you think about it?
First episode I liked a whole lot more than the second episode for a couple reasons. But we'll talk about it later too, like when we get into episode 1 and episode 2 is more of a breakdown. But what the whole time, what I was thinking during episode 1 is I was like, man, this is such a better way to do that Dr. Pershing episode in Mando season 3.
Yo, I was just about to say this gave me that. This was that episode from Mando, but better.
Yeah.
How do you guys? I'm curious actually because I haven't watched Mando season 3 in a while. When that came out, I don't think we've ever talked about that. How did you guys feel about that episode?
I didn't mind it. I know everybody hated it, but I just love seeing Coruscant and love seeing all that stuff. It was very Andor-esque, but I enjoyed it, but everybody hated it. But it was like a little too long. It probably could have been a little bit less because it was like,
okay.
I think 35 minutes of the 45 minutes was just Pershing on Coruscant, eating cookies and whatever he was doing and all that random stuff he was doing. But I kind of liked that episode. It was something different.
Yeah. I like that episode as well. It was just kind of, it's one of those things, Will and I, we've talked about this before. When you're in a season or a show, when it's multiple seasons and you're getting, 12 plus episodes a season, you have more room to breathe there. But, all the live action shows other than Andor, have like 7 or 8 episodes. So you don't have a whole lot of time to do that stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's where like Mando season 3 was kind of all over the place. But I did like that episode on an individual level, kind of the same way that Will, we were talking about the individual Book of Boba Fett episode with Mando, and it's like, but in the context of Boba Fett's arc, you're like, So, but this here makes sense. Like they have the room to tell that story, So I liked it a lot.
It's funny you say that about what you and I were talking about, Grayson. Tony, Grayson and I had like, it wasn't necessarily an argument, but we had like a 3-hour text discussion about whether or not like drop-in episodes in Star Wars are like good or bad for the show that they're in. So like that episode in Mando season 3 where it was like all the New Republic stuff with Dr. Pershing, the Luke and the Mando episode from Book of Boba Fett. Now, I mean, she is kind of she's like a lot of a main character, but not as big for Bad Batch. So you can kind of throw that in this category, but like just stuff where like the main character of the show or like the main characters of the show are not referenced, and it's just a episode about everything else. Personally, or like in Rebels where obviously Maul has been this antagonist the whole time, but then you see like it shifts gears from the main characters of Rebels, and it's Maul versus Kenobi on Tatooine. Like little vignettes or highlights of stuff that's happening at the same time as the show that's going on. Personally, I'm a big fan of. Grayson has his opinions on whether or not he likes that. I think in like what we're talking about with this episode 1 is the perfect balance of an episode that takes away the main characters but also tells the story, as opposed to the other two ends of the spectrum being like the Mando season 3 episode, where it was like completely about characters and stuff that was going on in Mando, but it like didn't necessarily push the story forward. It kind of separated things. Like this is a parallel line. And then the complete opposite end of the spectrum, like the Luke and the Mando episodes of Book of Boba Fett, was like, wow, that was amazing. That was really cool. I enjoyed that so much more than the Dr. Pershing episode. But like it legit had nothing to do with Book of Boba Fett other than the fact that Mando now is leaving to go help Boba Fett after 2 episodes, and like he gets the N1, and it sets up more of like, oh, where's Mando this whole time? It was 2 episodes of build up for you to understand his cameo at the end of Book of Boba Fett, which like I personally, I told Grayson this, and I've said this before, like if there was a steelbook for Book of Boba Fett, I would buy it just.
Oh, I mean, listen, I would would too. It's just my beef with those episodes is because like, you know, this is my belief that they wrote those episodes in because they were like, Mando is our moneymaker, Grogu is our moneymaker, let's get them back as quick as possible, let's make this Book of Boba Fett really Mando season 2.5. And listen, like the Luke and Boba and the Luke and the Mando stuff, like when in the episode Return of the Mandalorian, I was like, this episode, like you can ask Cole. I came home from like one of the worst days of work ever, and I came back and I like was like, yes, because dude, he's right there. I love The Mandalorian. But like when I think back on that show, I'm like, to be honest, kind of if we had gotten a better Boba Fett, but now back to Bad Batch, like this is an episode, it's a character that is tied to Omega, and you know, we're trying to figure out, again, learning more about why Omega is important and why they're running these tests, and it's still not a whole lot, but it makes you think like, okay, Emery Carr is going to play a vital piece in this story moving forward, which is why it works.
Yeah, like, so how you guys were like talking about those episodes, like that Mando and Luke episode are like peak Star Wars. They were so good, but they robbed Boba Fett of 2 full episodes, which is ridiculous because I love Boba Fett. So he got robbed, but at the same time, those episodes are like amazing. And like they should have put those 2.
What was
Mando
Boba Fett
3.
being robbed of in those 2 episodes?
A chance to not be a puss.
I agree with you, Tony.
What would he have done during those 2 episodes that would have made the finale better?
They could have actually.
What more story would have happened to make that better?
An entire episode that is a live action redo with Daniel Logan telling the story of the scrap thing, because then it would have made the payoff of what happened at the finale to people who did not see that deleted arc that never happened. And it would have been like, man, Boba is cold. You know, this is the Boba Fett I like.
But that's what I'm saying is like a full episode of a flashback.
Or most of it, yeah. Like that would have worked.
I'll take it.
So you would have rather.
No.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. This is where it comes into play. If you have to choose between 2 stories of just Boba Fett in the Boba Fett show that is already capital M count mid,
but it didn't have to be. We were only 4 episodes into the season. 3 episodes that turn that around.
2 episodes would not have saved that.
I think you're thinking about it the wrong way. They wrote those 2 Mando episodes in because they didn't care about Boba Fett. And it was like, if they had cared and you got rid of those Mando episodes, Boba Fett could have been really cool in that show. But the fact is they used that show as a vessel for Mando.
Let me rebuttal that. Do you think the Mando and the Luke episodes were written while the Book of Boba Fett story was being written? Or they wrote the story of Book of Boba Fett and then realized, wait, nobody's going to know where Mando is. If he shows up with an N1 and Grogu, it wouldn't make sense. So they had to tell that story in the middle. I think it was an
More than-
afterthought that was shoved in versus it be like
Yeah.
they wrote the full story of Book of Boba Fett and then we're just like,
maybe.
I think they got to that point where they ended the season and they were like, oh, it'll be great. Mando will be there. They'll do this big team up. They'll do the shootout. They'll do all of this stuff. But then they're like, wait, do you think fans are going to want to know how Mando got back? And then upper management is like, yeah, Mando, we need that Grogu cash cow. And that's where they explain it. Also, throw Luke Skywalker in there, throw Ahsoka in there, throw Cad Bane. Those 2 episodes are so great. Like that episode of what's it called, the Jedi or whatever, with Luke, Ahsoka, Grogu, Mando, Cad Bane, the Cobb Vanth stuff, the standoff in the desert of Tatooine. Like that episode is so great. I just don't think, especially looking at that episode, just that episode versus the entirety of Book of Boba Fett, was A, written at the same time, and B, written while the rest of all of that show was going on. I think those episodes were inserts afterwards, which is why me thinking of that full story getting done, the point A to point B of Book of Boba Fett would have been the exact same if those 2 episodes would have been devoted to Boba Fett. Maybe those 2 episodes would have given us something cool, like we see Jango or we see Boba Fett flashbacks. I just think for the entirety, it wouldn't have made the show that much more memorable. And obviously we'll never know because this is complete hypothetical. But I just don't think it would have made Book of Boba Fett that
so
much
basically,
more memorable.
you think like realistically it would have just been like 5 episodes, really, or like 6 episodes, as opposed to let's do it because Boba's not
the same
in
amount of time, and it just get really drawn out, and we get like an episode just about like the Nikto gang, or like something like that, or like just about the weird biker gang people, or like an episode just about Fennec infiltrating the Pike Syndicate. Like there's other stuff that could have happened in that time, or like Black Chrysanthemum doing something. There's other stuff that would have been cool to see based on the characters that you had in the show. But as much as it is, like, I think those episodes being so great are tarnished by the fact that they overshadowed the show so much that the rest of the show looks worse because of those episodes looking bad. To me, if I had to put it into a metaphor, it's like if you go to somebody's wedding and somebody else shows up wearing a white dress.
Yeah.
It's that where it's like, like she's obviously showing up the bride, taking away from her day, but like the wedding was mid anyway, and she's a better dancer. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what I would compare it to for those 2 episodes. So
I guess where our disagreement is that you were thinking about it in a different way, where it, like if you nothing was going to basically those episodes, they're like if you take those away, nothing changes. Whereas I think I was thinking of like they basically rewrote the whole show because they were like, well, let's just make it a backdoor pilot for Mando season 3, or a backdoor segue. I think it could be a mixture of both unless we work for Disney, which some people think we do. We don't, unfortunately.
No, Tony gets a check every month.
Oh, how much?
Signed by Bob Iger.
Yeah, and it says F you, Tony, on the bottom. And I'm like, F you, Andor. Sorry, buddy.
Hey, without Bob Iger, we wouldn't be talking right now about Bad Batch.
Correct.
Or literally anything else. So.
Correct. Thank you, Robert Iger.
Anyway. Bad Batch. We now publicly put out our Book of Boba Fett stuff. So this episode hit because it actually progresses the story.
Correct.
And talks about a character that is
correct.
Yo, Retney with the lore at just the right time.
Is Retney an Andor hater?
By Cassian Andor.
Retney, I love Andor. I'm sorry if you don't.
I don't hate Andor. Just because I associate with this guy does not mean that I hate Andor.
I mean, Bix and B2 are cool, and they built the Death Star. That's cool. Starkiller's mask. That's about it, though. The rest was like, meh.
It's not even really his mask, though.
Nah. We'll never know.
By the way, Starkiller hot toy.
Whoa.
That would be sick, man.
It's going to be an Andor release.
Like it's going to be a what?
It's going to be an Andor release like they do with Vintage Collection, where it's like the Empire Strikes Back, but it's this version of Yoda. It'll be the Andor version of Starkiller, and the card art is going to be the Starkiller armor that's in Luthen Rail's whatever his name is base.
Okay, Rennie, I enjoy Andor, but it's not my favorite. Yeah, that's like I don't. I'm not one of the people that's like, you don't like it.
Yeah,
you know,
don't
like
understand cinema.
Yeah, I was like, I like Andor, but I understand it's not for everybody. You know,
you're a good Andor fan, not the Andor fans that are like, it's better than Ahsoka and everything.
Dude, the Ahsoka Andor beef was crazy. Like I remember talking to people and being like, they're like, you're so like, I'm like, you don't understand real Star Wars. Ahsoka is. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I love Ahsoka and Andor.
What if I like them both, baby?
Yeah, like, what if I just like appreciating new facets of storytelling?
Damn. So that first episode of Bad Batch, 30 minutes later, we'll get back to it. But
do you think Cad Bane's coming back? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think it's one and done. I don't really see the need. Why? Why? Yeah.
You do.
He'll be
so?
back.
For what?
He'll be back.
Maybe it is a little random.
To do what? He's gonna bring some more babies?
It was just he literally did less than Asajj for that episode. Like
he did.
Out of him, Fennec, and Asajj, Cad Bane was just like, "Hey, here's a baby. I'm good at what I do."
Maybe he could pop up in the next, like the next week's episode, I guess.
But why? For what?
I mean, he knows about these kids, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that him and the Batch already have a past.
Only when he gets a call for a what is it, a level 1 bounty hunter?
Yeah, a class 1.
Class 1, yeah. He's just at the crib chilling, so he gets the call, and then he heads out over there.
Either way,
which
I guess.
is wild.
I think Cad's more likely than Ventress.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh no, I think Ventress for sure in the finale. She's gonna take Asajj. She's gonna take Omega, and they're gonna go off in the distance to the path.
Yeah. Maybe.
I don't think Omega is gonna do as much Force stuff as we may think she is moving forward.
Did you see her?
I don't think so.
Well, in the end of the second episode,
she was meditating, but
she dials it in right there at the end.
She force chokes Clone X. No, I'm kidding.
But like, what is she gonna do? Like, she doesn't know anything. So yeah, I guess it'll be interesting to see. But that first,
I'm hoping it's Boba. I'm just saying.
I know.
Maybe a little young, but Boss.
I would assume any of the guys who were in Empire Strikes Back.
Oh yeah, Zuckuss and
we don't know if Aura Singh is alive at this point. We don't know if what's his name pushed her off of that mountain.
Pushed her off the cliff.
Yeah,
Paul killed her. I love that line, dude. That's such. Listen, I'm a Solo lover. That one, I think she's still alive at this point. That maybe, I don't know. They spoke it like it was more of a recent thing, but maybe it was just because it's Aura Singh. But it'd be kind of crazy if let's see, it was Tobias Beckett, if he showed up in, like, if he was one of the class 1s, you know. But
I'd like that. He's more of a smuggler though than a bounty hunter, right?
Yeah, that's true. He's not really a bounty hunter. Yeah. They're also pretty like anti-Empire, so it's hard. Like, it would be weird to just have Cad like just kidnap that baby and then just be like, you know, like leave.
Yeah.
I don't know. But in that first episode, like, I wasn't really thinking much about it, but what the hell was on Hemlock's iPad? Right?
Oh, I have a picture. It's a Clone X. It looks like Noble 6 from Halo Reach, but
it's a different like body armor.
So if you scroll forward, it switches, and it's another Clone X variant. Wait, look at the body of the suit is different.
Yeah, is this possibly the beginning of the Dark Troopers?
That does look like a Dark Trooper helmet.
Like, look at
originally,
this. Phase 1 Dark Trooper.
That's a good idea, Tony.
That's not my idea. I saw someone talk about it on a video, and I'm like, wait a minute, like, because I didn't know what it was. It looks like a freaking Transformer.
Because originally, so Dark Troopers, they started out as robots in Legends, and then they became dudes in suits. I've always liked them just being guys in suits.
I thought it was the reverse, where they started off as dudes in suits, and then they became robots.
No,
this is phase 1.
So in Legends, it's phase 1. They start out as a robot shell, and then they're kind of scary. And then I think they start off as robots, and inevitably they can become dude in suits. Like in Legends, one of the latest versions of Dark Trooper, they have kyber crystals in their armor, to where they can wield lightsabers and stuff. It's in Jedi Outcast, I think. But yeah, like the one with the more like triangular eyes, that looks like a Dark Trooper helmet right there.
Yeah,
100%.
it does. It does.
Because we also think maybe they do a reverse thing where they instead of Legends where it's robot to people, this in canon they go people to robot.
Yeah.
I do like the Dark Trooper connection, just because if all of this is being set up where like the Dark Troopers are used to go after Force sensitive children, obviously you see the Dark Troopers abduct Grogu later on, and Luke is the one who has to take down the Dark Troopers. So like it's super full circle from this point to then. If this is like the early stages of Dark Trooper, I really love that.
In Mando season 2, Retney coming in clutch. They say Dark Troopers were humans in suits, and the final version were droids. Interesting. So they did flip them from Legends.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, because
it's in Dark Troopers.
Yeah.
I love
By
it.
the time it's Mando, I was like, they're fully robots, and then you see him in don't you see him in Fallen Order too?
They're so in Rebels and in Fall. They're in they're in Survivor and in then in Rebels, and they're like the weird like Purge versions. But yeah,
they're like a little bit bigger. They look like football pads. Like
Yeah.
Dude,
so
shut up, Quinlan.
That's a. That's how I feel about the real Quinlan Voss.
Seriously,
Quinlan was here.
It's insane to me that Quinlan I mean, hey, I thank you for being here, but he has his own moment every stream.
I love
they're not
that.
Suits, they're droids. The human inside was the final weakness. You're right.
Yeah.
That's cool. So that honestly, I don't think we'll get anything with that, but that is a nice little tease right there. I wonder if I could. But so the other one though, it's interesting because this one is more of like a silhouette of like a body. Like it has the helmet, but then the body's a silhouette. But then the other one is like you can fully see the design. And they have like, what is that weird thing on the right? It looks like a staff. Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's literally the one before literally is a Dark Trooper.
That's
helmet.
literally the helmet. Like, look at that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Look at the eyes, dude.
You need to dust
face
that
and everything.
Thank you. I thought you were gonna like lick it.
I thought he was too.
Yeah, like even that's really cool. I like that connection a lot.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, this one they have a funky looking helmet. Interesting.
Yeah, I definitely missed that during the episode. So
And it's interesting because it looks like in the one that he opens, there's already a person, but the one that we keep seeing, he's like the other like CX units aren't ready.
yeah.
And I was like, who are you talking about, man? Who are these clone? I mean, and again, they could just be regular clones. That's fine. I really like the idea of at least Dogma being one. From Clone Wars, he's the one that was kind of the anti 501st dudes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting.
So
that
one looks a little different. I don't know. But so that was a cool part of the episode. Another thing I really enjoyed in this episode was when she walked into the vault and like you see the kids and like right away, so many things were running through my head because I'm like, oh, this has to be where they're getting all that M count blood. Because like we were kind of figuring out, was it Palpatine's? Was it Grogu's? Was it the Jedi's frozen in the honeycomb from Kenobi? So they got a bunch of younglings. And it's just crazy to see that perspective that the Empire is literally doing basically what the Jedi did, just taking these Force-sensitive kids. Like, it was just crazy if you look at it like that. It's like, hey, so is the Empire bad? Is the Jedi bad? It's the same thing, technically.
I mean, the Jedi, they ask their families. They don't just take them.
Cat
like,
Bane asked after he knocked that lady out.
No, he did not. He went, bah! And then she was like, honk shoe.
Me.
So it's interesting because these kids, though, do, I mean, I guess counter argument to myself that they seem like they almost like their parents volunteered them
right?
to come. Like they're like, oh, I'm ready to go home now. They're not like, let us go home.
Parents are not alive. There's no way.
Yeah, no, they're so dead. They even asked her like, oh, like when do we get to go home? And she's like, yeah, I'll check on that.
Yeah.
Hey, Rennie, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
Listen, we're about to get into a whole other thing. Listen, I am one of the biggest Jedi fans ever, and even I know that they have their issues. Not true Jedi though. True Jedi are elite.
Oh, he's gonna drop the link to the lore videos showing that I'm wrong.
Willingly, sir. Thank you, Retney.
Become a member to Ripney's Holocron to figure out who the Jedi are and if they're bad or good.
Hey, Retney, do you like the Jedi Order symbol?
Bro, this is make or break right now, Retney. Do you like the Jedi symbol that they use in like the Age of the Republic, which is now the Age of the Dawn of the Jedi logo? Are you a fan? Actually, in chat right now, what are your opinions? Rate out of 10 the Jedi logo.
This right?
Logo right now.
Thank you, Retney. Yes. Yes. Let's go. Retney, I have it tattooed on my back, and this fraud Will thinks it sucks.
Oh,
this is
man.
This is absurd.
I am one with the Force, and the Force is with me.
I
baby.
hate that logo.
He hates it.
Yeah, it was made for McDonald's toys, and then they figured it out.
Dude, Retney is my homie. He's going to get it tattooed as well.
Oh, man.
It was actually made for merchandise. Oh, Sinister. Okay, it's Sinister Maul. Listen, you don't...
Thank you, Maul. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Listen,
Thank you, Lord Maul.
That's not even... why are... Okay, it's just me and Retney right now, bro.
Listen, Gaib.
Ooh, that's fighting words for Will because he loves the Imperial and Republic symbols.
Yeah. I mean, they're fine.
Yeah.
I'm not
so
saying
funny.
it's better than. I'm not okay. It's definitely not the best logo in Star Wars. Let's cool our jets here. It's not Look, it's not better than the Mudhorn.
I was about to say the Mudhorn or the Mandalorian symbol.
The Mythosaur.
It's
The
not
Mythosaur
better
logo.
than the Mythosaur.
Yeah, the Mythosaur is fire.
I love the New Republic logo as well, Retney. Let me go get that.
It's not better than the Rebellion logo. It's not better than the J guys.
J guys are elite.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other Star Wars logos.
We got Mythosaur. Bam. Elite. Iconic.
Right there, baby.
New Republic symbol. Fire. Love this symbol.
Dude, that thing is so much better than the...
Yep.
Dude, you know what's actually... Grayson, you and I talked about this. Way better than that logo is the High Republic logo.
What is?
Better than the Jedi logo. The High Republic one where it's like flat.
You thought you didn't like it?
No, dude. I think that's sick. I'm not even a fan of the High Republic. That's badass.
It reminds me of Legend of Zelda. I feel like that should be on Link's shield for Hyrule. That's what
Honestly,
it looks like.
what it looks like is in the Acolyte where they all pick their sabers up at the same time, and there's that shot of all of them holding their sabers like that. That's what the logo reminds me of, which is so sick to me.
That's true.
We got to keep... I'm sorry. We keep getting us off topic, but...
Yeah, so what's new with Bad Batch?
So what'd you guys think when this happened, when they walked into that room and it started to click what was going on?
I mean...
Yeah.
I don't think there was... Immediately, I was like, oh, this is surprising that they have like actual Force-sensitive children here. I mean, listen, there's so many plots that revolve around Palpatine getting Force-sensitive children, whether it's for Inquisitors or for his own good here, because we see it in Rebels. The whole plot of Fallen Order revolves around a holocron with the list of all the Force-sensitive names.
Yeah.
It's also it was in Clone Wars first, so now we've got it here. I think it's just interesting that these kids are like, they're bored, obviously, but they seem like their parents, or like it wasn't like they were just captured. I mean, I don't know, because they say like we want to go home, so clearly they weren't taken as like infants. It's just like
the green kid. What's his name? Jax definitely looks the oldest, of like the most aware of what's going on in this situation. The younger ones are honestly the one that's blue that has the Quinlan Voss line on her face.
Yeah.
She's a
like,
Pantoran,
there's
yeah.
something going on.
Yeah.
It's interesting that they didn't show her other than like a few shots. Like they never went. Emery Carr never went to her cell. We never even learn her name. She's like, we just see her. She kind of gives a look, but we only see Eva and Jax. And I'm like, well, then what's up with this girl? You know, like, is there going to be something that pops up with her? Like, is she? But she seems the most cognizant of what's going on. It seems. It was also weird. Her facial structure and her haircut is like. I'm not saying she is Shin Hati, like that literally would not make any sense. But she looked like there's somebody out there. They're like, what if Shin was actually a Pantoran and they channeled? No,
Come on.
there's somebody will be out there that will say that. But it's funny. Her haircut and her facial structure look very similar to Shin, which I thought was an interesting choice. But yeah. I'm curious.
I did love in this episode, like the entire time this vault is being set up as there's something sinister in there. All of the symbols on the ground, like we were talking about, Grayson, the red, like it looks like there's nothing but pure evil in there. And then they open the vault, they go through the door, and it's just three kids. Which is like
all those Republic
also
commandos
cool.
guarding the doors everywhere.
Dude, it's so cool. It's also like this thing of that's how they view the Jedi at this point. So like for them to be held in this, like what's behind the most evil thing that you could be thinking of, it's 3 kid Jedi
In the vault of all
Yeah.
places.
It's just so like it's great. It's great visual storytelling, I feel, of that point of like how much they are not necessarily afraid, but how Jedi are looked, or Force sensitive beings are looked at as this race of disgusting creature, especially too, like at the beginning of the episode when the one villager is like, don't say that, we get in a lot of trouble, like don't even talk about them having Force abilities. It's very Jedi persecution, like real world balance for a lot of that stuff, and it's cool. I really enjoyed that.
It's it's very like World War II kind of, so are you saying, Retney, I need to be clear. I don't know if you're messing with me right now. I have to. You're so knowledgeable. Let me be clear. I'm not saying that girl is Shin. I was joking. There's somebody out there. Yeah, I am. I'm going crazy. But hey, we like the Jedi symbol. Okay, we're homies. Yeah. So is the room where we have the tubes? Which one is the vault? The kid room or the evil room?
I guess that whole
think it's
area,
the hallway to that. Like in my head, that's a hallway, and at the end of the hallway, all of that is blocked off, and all of those kids are behind all of those red wall lasers back there. No,
I'm not talking about the laser wall. I'm talking about, well, because we clearly see Palpatine go through the laser wall and all of them, and there's the tubes with the old text, right? You're saying that once you continue walking, it takes you to the kids?
That's what I got from that, is like, because when that's the only other place where she would need that level of clearance for, that obviously not even Tarkin has. So
Meredith coming in with heat. The vault is more than just one room. Hemlock and Emery were walking through multiple halls. Gotcha.
Well, yeah,
they were.
When you go through and there's just that big red laser, it's the phase doors, and then you go through. It looks like the walls that Mando has to pass through in Mando season 3 before the clones. It's like, maybe there's different sections to what's going on in that room of Mount Tantiss. But like, I assumed through that red hall, maybe it's not the only room, but you get to the kids in there. You know what I mean?
Kids to the right, the other room to the left. Done.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought that. I mean, they're in close proximity. I think that they're like you said. There's multiple rooms that all have these red laser walls, and like one of them is this wherever, presuming Snoke, whatever is going on in there, and then the other one is we got these kids, right? Like, which is interesting though, because like, why do they even really care about these kids that much anymore if they know like Omega is the one that's good? Like, I think it was Hemlock directly says like her blood is the only one that allows like a consistent bonding or transfusion of M count. Like nothing else is working. I'm curious why why they still care so much about the kids. Like, I mean, I know they wouldn't want to let them go, but
they have the high M count in their blood. I don't think Omega has a high M count in her blood.
No,
she could
it's just a
take
transfusion.
Yeah.
Because that, like, them being the end goal of offspring of different species that have high M count, that's what they're trying to organically get to that endpoint with the experiments they're doing. And Omega is just the only one who's been close enough at child stage to infuse with the M count stuff so that they can do that organically. Because in my head, if you can make a bunch of unaltered clones that have a high M count and have them produce and have offspring and have children, those children will be the first race of organically high M count midichlorian species. So you could basically genetically grow your own Jedi race, which is kind of what we see from Rey later on with the parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you guys? I'm following.
You know, see what I mean? It's like if you were like, I need to make a baby that's force sensitive, that's not just like the randomness of what's right now, where like the Jedi have to go out and find force sensitive children, right? I mean, at this point, even the Empire, they just have to go out and find force sensitive children. To me, it's like X-Men with the mutants. It's like every seventh child or something like that. Something like that is a mutant, whatever that stat is. And it's just like the parents don't have to be mutants, but when they're born, they could be.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Jedi for me. It's like the high midichlorian count thing. But if you could cut out the middleman of that randomness of having to find them out and just be able to grow organically your own bloodline of force sensitive people, and then completely rule that for yourself of like what Palpatine wants to do is just use those people to end up putting his force essence into and just having these organically high M count users. So
I guess that begs the question then, because I've always thought Project Necromancer was more of like a Dark Empire thing where like he just wants to make a clone of himself that has the high midichlorians so that he can transfer his body. The Rey Snoke thing almost seems like a failed thing, or like, well, I can't clone myself now, so I'll just put myself on another body.
That's what I assumed.
That's what you think? Okay.
I think it's kind of, look, we talked about it when we were talking about the Plagueis book, is like Palpatine is a master at happenstance and what can come of keeping your options open and having multiple branches rather than just working on one thing. I think there are so many different avenues that he's trying to take of his own immortality that whether it's somebody like a Snoke or a Rey where it's a force sensitive clone, or even a clone of his own body where you see somebody like a Gideon who they all look like him, it's all avenues to the same end goal of like, when I die, I'm going to keep living, whether it's plan A, B, or C.
Okay. So, okay. That makes sense then.
I don't think they're all stepping stones in the same like the same end goal. I think they're more like different avenues that feed off of each other in terms of scientific discovery.
Yeah.
But like whichever one is the best, he's gonna go with and burn the boats for the other options.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah.
Then someone mentioned I saw you bring it up, Tony, but Hemlock wanted extra funding, which I mean could be for anything, but I'm curious, like, does he want? He already has the forces he needs to get Omega back, so like, does he just need more funding just to continue it, or like
maybe to produce those Dark Troopers?
That's what I was going to say.
So yeah, I was going to say
army of just creatures or people or robots that go after these force sensitive beings.
So in Legends, one of the phase of Dark Troopers or Shadow, it was like some Shadow Dark Trooper hybrid was, they did these things. They were giving these people the Force with these crystals, and they were called Sith Reborn, and they were using them as like an army, kind of like lesser Inquisitors, almost like full troops of just like expendable Force sensitive people. And then eventually they get to a point where they have this armor. I believe it's I believe that it's cortosis armor. And so it's these dark troopers that have cortosis armor with these crystals that give them the force, which I know is very Legends, and I don't really like that in canon. But I think maybe that's what you're saying then is like, if that's a possibility of like, well, we could have an army of this as well, but also maybe finding either a clone of Palpatine. I'm just curious why they aren't taking Palpatine's blood regularly. You know, I mean, I know he's doing stuff, but like, have they? Sure, I mean, maybe they've already tried that. Maybe that's a no-brainer. But I'm like, wouldn't they want to keep trying Palpatine's blood?
Yeah,
maybe because of his age, they don't, and it's more of a youthful thing. Where like he doesn't want to be. I mean, obviously, your blood doesn't determine your age.
Yeah.
In like a clone sense, if I'm guessing, but like more pure blood like that. I guess.
Okay.
Like unaltered. Because you also don't know. Look, one thing that I will say is I don't think we've seen enough of something I would really like to see brought into Star Wars is like Palpatine doing experiments on himself. I don't think we've gotten to a point where he's doing that in his own, because it's always outsourcing something else of like, when I die, I'm going to Force essence transfer to something else, or a different version of my own body, a newer body. Happened in Dark Empire, obviously happened in the sequels, with right now like Rey being the clone, Force essence, whatever. But never maybe, and Retney will probably pop in here with a comment, but like I don't think we ever see in either comics or books where like Palpatine is experimenting on himself to stay older. I don't know.
To stay alive, or what do you mean?
To stay alive, I mean.
Okay.
Yeah. So real quick, shout out to Nerd Affiliated with the $4.99 super chat.
My trick's gonna work on me. Only money.
He says, I hope the show keeps this energy for the remaining episodes so good. Yeah, all the reviewers that got to see the last episodes, except for the finale, said they're all dark like this. Every single episode. Dark and emotional.
I mean, this one was pretty dark.
Yeah.
Both of them really, but that first one was just child endangerment, torture, kidnapping, all of that great stuff.
This is a better way of what I was trying to say.
Okay. Well, but it's I guess this is what I'm thinking, right? Is the body he is in Rise of Skywalker, unless they could change it because it was based on the novelization of Rise of Skywalker, but they say that the body he's in is not his body from Return of the Jedi. That is a deteriorating clone body of Palpatine. So that's why his fingers are all bleh. And he looks like death. So I'm like, well, clearly they successfully clone him at some point, and maybe that's what we see. Maybe that's what's in the vaults. Is those are they've successfully cloned Palpatine. The thing is they have the bodies in there, and that's why he's like smiling. But then they're like, okay, now we got to figure out how to get the blood or the successful M count transfusion into these bodies, because they're cloned, but they don't have his M count anymore. And so that's one pathway. But then, dude, with the low res Fuggles Palpatine, and then but then you're right, Will, is like, well, now, but they also have the kids where they're like, well, maybe just being able to have some sort of body in general for him if this does not work, right?
Yeah, I think at some point, if he could, as much as Dark Empire is not canon, I think that he would still prefer that over than just another clone body that looks exactly like him. You know what I mean?
And because Rey's dad is not a clone of Palpatine, or he is a clone. He's a Strandcast clone, which basically means like he's like a biological descendant of Palpatine. Yes. But
that's exactly what I mean. Of like,
okay,
at some point, I'm sure he would rather have a clone body of because the thing is, like, if you force essence transfer to a deteriorating clone body, like your focus is just gonna be to enter a different host body later on. Like eventually that body's gonna die and continue to deteriorate maybe even at a faster rate because it's a clone body. But like, I'm sure at some point he would rather go into an unaltered, younger, peak body self, kind of like what not necessarily was going to happen, but what's his name when they cut that thing of young Palpatine from Rise of Skywalker?
Matt Smith.
Yeah, Matt Smith. The whole Matt Smith thing. So
That was what that was?
He was either going to be a apprentice for Pops or like a younger version of him.
Yeah.
And that would have been amazing because I love Matt Smith. So imagine if Pops transferred his essence into Matt Smith as a younger version of himself.
Kind of like a
in the
Dark
Rise of
Empire thing.
Skywalker.
Yeah, it's
That
just
would
Dark
have
Empire.
been that would have been insane, bro.
Mm.
But it got
Now,
cut.
he never confirmed really any of that stuff of like
Yeah.
the specifics of it, but
Did he
there
ever film
was-
anything?
I think
No.
I think he did. I think he was on set for stuff, and they did like test stuff with him. I would assume.
Oh.
I think like fitting because he did like an interview about it and they asked him and he was like, no, that
Yeah.
he wasn't even there. He didn't even shoot. And then they asked him in the interview, can you tell us what it was? And he's like, no, I can't. Like maybe
Yeah.
like just in case for the future kind of deal. So it's
I mean,
assumed-
that's not a bad casting for
No,
like
I actually love that, dude. As much
Yeah.
as like
he's weird looking
Look,
enough.
people aren't the biggest fans of Dark Empire, and obviously like Timothy Zahn wasn't a big fan of Dark Empire apparently. But
Allegedly.
there are people like if you had to pick between what we got in Rise of Skywalker and Dark Empire and it still be Ben Solo and Rey at the end of the day, would you have rather had it be like the Dark Empire thing of him force transfer into a younger Palpatine body and then fight off and then die that way, or what we got of like old deteriorating clone body Palpatine and just having the recognition of that being Ian McDermott's face? Like, would you have preferred it to be young or old?
That's a good question.
I think I would want the young man. I just love Matt Smith because like from Doctor Who, I loved him in that. He was the best part of Morbius, and Morbius was terrible. So I'll take it.
I don't know. That's tough because I love Ian, but I do like the idea of there being a young Palpatine for them to fight. Like one of my favorite. I would have loved something like this because at the end of Knights of the Old Republic, when you fight Malik, there's these like tanks, and he keeps like transferring his body. He has like 20 different Malik bodies or something.
Oh,
and he keeps transferring. Once you defeat one, he transfers his essence to the next one and the next one. And that would have been a crazy fight. So maybe there would have been a way where you had both, where there's the old Palpatine, and he's like transferring his body to all the young ones until it finally goes back to the old one, and that's it. That's the final straw. He's out of.
Sick.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
But that way you would have had Ian and Matt Smith, but I don't know.
Best of both worlds.
I think we're speculating a lot on what with Project Necromancer and everything. But to be honest,
just because we kind of know the end goal and what we're at right now, so it's more filling in the gaps, which is
yeah.
But
yeah. So someone earlier brought up Tarkin. Tarkin is the biggest hater of literally any project until it starts to thrive. Like because he was a hate, like he wasn't really a fan of Project Stardust until it succeeded, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna take this now. I'm gonna take the credit. It's because we
care.
Don't have lives. Oh yeah, that too. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, Tarkin is like, oh yeah, he's like, yeah, what funding, and Hemlock's like, trust me, bro, Palpatine, he cares about this one probably more than anything else.
Yeah.
So I found the what
Very
Matt
on point,
Smith
Tarkin.
said. So, and this is why I think it was more of a Dark Empire thing, just because of the last couple of lines of this. In an interview with Josh Horowitz on Happy Sad Confused, Smith finally said yes, he was up for a role in Rise of Skywalker, but did Smith actually film anything for the movie? No, I didn't. We were close to me being in it, but then it just quite never happened. I think the thing they were thinking of me for, eventually the part became obsolete, young clone Palpatine, or it could be a Palpatine flashback, but I would assume it would be Dark Empire style, and they didn't need it, so I never got to be in Star Wars. But I would have to assume.
Yeah, that's the interview.
I remember seeing that interview.
Yeah, that's the interview right there, and he basically just says that one thing. But and everybody's like, who is he going to play? If I was a betting man, young Palpatine in a Dark Empire version of that would look, it's a little too on the nose and coincidental that somehow Palpatine returned, but it was just a little bit different than the way he did in one of the largest comic book continuities. So I don't know. That's what I would have to assume.
I would love to read. I've actually never read Dark Empire. That'd be a really fun thing to do on Tales, just at one point to do. Because is it strictly a comic book?
Yeah.
Well, how many issues?
Yeah. Let me look. Like, it's on the Marvel app.
It is? Oh wow! Maybe I need to get that then. Interesting.
Yeah. Most Star Wars comics are on the Marvel app.
That's good.
Michael, really good. Both of them.
Good.
We
haven't even started talking about the second episode yet. We've been talking about these kids and Palpatine up to no good.
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't heard from Michael in a long time. Michael, how you doing, dude? He used to pop in here all the time. Hope you're doing well.
I used to see him a lot.
So to wrap up episode 1, Emery is 100% going to turn on them.
Yeah.
Like you can see all the signs are there. And I guarantee you the next episode, when she sees Omega, her younger sister back there, it's a wrap. They're going to do the whole escape again.
Yeah, the fact that she gave the
doll,
is it the Katuka or whatever it's called? I remember, but
that thing had a name. Of course, it did.
They were all at Cast Connections. I remember.
No way.
Tons of them.
Tons
of those little dolls. Yeah. Now I kind of wish I got one because it's kind of sad. But the fact that she gave it to and I like that there's one little line where she says, Straw Lula. Is it called a Lula? Am I dumb?
Lula, yeah, it's Lula. Yeah, you're very dumb. It's Lula.
Sorry. But the fact that she said, she says to Nala Se, they're just kids like I was, which implies that Emery Carr has been kind of like a prisoner since she was a kid for her entire life.
Yeah.
I think she's now feeling empathy for these kids because she's like, I don't want them to go through what I've gone through, nor Omega in the beginning, right? Like she kind of, that's her way of showing love or trying to aid these kids,
especially when they brought that toddler at the very end. She was like, what the hell, like this is smaller than the other one. So
have we ever seen that species before?
The toddler? It was in was it in Rogue One or Solo? I watched the video earlier and they said species was in another movie, but it didn't have a name or anything. I think it might have been in Solo. I
was curious if that was one. Okay, Sabersmith says Solo. Okay, I got to
Solo. Yep.
I was curious. It seemed like they almost looked like what they describe for the Maron in the Dark Disciple book, and I was like, I'm curious if that's a Maron, because even their hands had not an opening, but they kind of had the same hand shapes where the claw could pop out. But I don't think it was.
What is it called? Moron?
Yeah, Google moron.
You're a moron.
Watch when your picture shows up.
Mahran. But did they even say in the credits what kind of did they say
No, they didn't name it yet.
Okay, it's probably not a moron then moron.
Yeah, no morons here. So
I feel
there's
so
not even
bad.
a photo that comes up when you Google them. When you go on Wikipedia for what a Maron is,
they never give a physical version. Yeah.
Here's a question.
No, hell no. If it was Tech, why would he need the location of Pabu?
But they wiped his mind.
Oh, come on. Get out of here. It's not a droid.
Also,
I only have one inkling, and I think it's what Will's about to say.
Oh, I don't know if it's what I'm about to say. Now that we know about the this is kind of a stretch, but now that we know about the Dark Troopers, if the CX clones are an earlier version of what the Dark Troopers end up being, it is interesting that his name is Tech and they end up all being robots.
I don't know. At one point when he was calling back in, he sounded like Crosshair. He sounded 100%.
I did. When he was calling,
I thought that. I was like, he sounds like Crosshair.
He talks a little bit like this, like Snake.
Yeah. So it could be a Crosshair clone, man. That'd be crazy. You pull the mask off, it's just Crosshair's face.
Whoa! I didn't even think of that.
Are you being sarcastic?
That would be an identity crisis.
Another
like,
clone of Crosshair?
If Crosshair's the one that does it too, like he rips it off and he's looking at himself.
I'd actually love that.
That would be wild.
That I could see it. The only inkling that I have, and as the season goes on, I'm like, this dude is not Tech. Now there's more than one, and when he was like, oh, they're not ready yet, I'm like, could Tech be one of them? Maybe, I don't know. But this one specifically, the only inkling that I got from in these new episodes was the fact that Tech and Fee, they always had like that joking thing of them being romantic in the past couple seasons, and I find it very funny that he was the one that got sent to go find Fee's ship, and there was like a whole little spotlight. I was like, was that intentional to be, because and she almost like, she had no indication that he was on the ship. She just almost like had this like second sense, and I'm like, listen, she was the one that was always flirting and calling him, well, I guess
brown eyes,
right? Yeah. And so she had like a crush on Tech, and I'm like, it's interesting, but they never actually confront each other. So that's where I'm kind of like, maybe not. That could just be anybody, you know.
I hope it's not Cody. I don't want it to be Cody, man. I want Cody to be Cody, not that.
At this point, the show is going on. I'm like, do you think there's going to be another clone show after this with Echo and Cody and because we only have 4 episodes left. That is a tight window to not only wrap up the Bad Batch's characters, Emery Carr, Omega, Rex, Echo, Cody, everything. That's a lot to wrap up in 4 episodes. I'm like, I don't know, man.
Okay, well,
and Wolf.
What if the inciting incident that sets Rex and Gregor, or not Gregor, who's the other guy? It's Gregor
and Wolf.
If the inciting incident for Rex, Gregor, and Wolf happens at the end of this season, and that's why they retire.
That's what I mean. That's what I thought originally.
They save all of the clones on Tantiss, and that's where Rex is like, I'm out. Now I'm just going to go, look, we're all getting old here. I've fought too many wars. I've lost too many people. I've done my last final thing, and now I am out completely. Now I'm going to go.
I always assumed that the Bad Batch's death, but then them getting out these clones or whatever was the inciting incident for them going to Sealos and retiring. But now, like, my thing is, I'm like, there's only 4 episodes left. We haven't seen Rex in a little while again. We still haven't seen Cody. We don't know what's going on with Wolf, and like maybe they all converge in one big finale. But I'm like, we only get about 27 minutes an episode. That's only, I guess it's roughly an hour and a half to wrap up everything.
I think you're right, Will. I think it's going to end that way, but I don't think they're going to like get out and save everybody. I think everyone's going to die, and they're going to see everyone die. And that's going to be the reason why they want to retire, because they know they can't win against the Empire, and they just go hide. I think it's going to be something like that.
I think the batch is done. I think the clones could get out, or a lot of them, because we know there's still clones around.
Like 5.
There's no way there's not a sliver of a happy ending at the end of this for some of the clones.
Yeah.
Is
Omega.
I
surviving.
would imagine Omega's going to survive. I think it would be a bummer. Obviously, I don't care if Hunter sacrifices himself. Go ahead, Rambo. Sacrifice yourself. If
he's done. He's dead.
If Wrecker dies, I'm a bit pissed. But
he's done.
He's dead.
I'm a bit pissed.
He's already not okay right now, by the way.
Yeah, but like,
he's not waking up.
I think the biggest bummer out of all of them dying would be Crosshair, because of the redemption story to him. It's a little too on the nose for him to be like, oh, you saved me, you gave me a chance, now I'm going to save you and do the Star Wars sacrifice
thing. To be honest, I've always compared Crosshair, specifically with this one line where we see Crosshair's guilt throughout the whole season, and it's if they do that where he dies, then Crosshair in my mind feels very similar to Cassian Andor, where Cassian he carries his prison with him everywhere he goes, you know.
Yeah.
And by the end he achieves his purpose. They get to and I'm like, if they do that with Crosshair, I agree. Like, if I had to have one or two of them survive, it would be Crosshair and Omega.
Yep.
So
that's what I would love, is Crosshair and Omega to be the two that survive.
I think Crosshair and Omega will survive, but I think Crosshair is going to survive but I think he's gonna see everybody die and think everyone's dead and not realize Omega's alive. And Omega goes with Asajj, and then Crosshair's there just left thinking that everyone's dead and he's alone.
That would be so sad, dude.
Yeah.
That would be so sad.
Yeah,
Like, that-
I think
that's
it's
the
gonna be
thing
a
of,
sad
like,
ending.
I would prefer Crosshair's the resolution for Crosshair's story, at least in the Bad Batch, to be him doing all of the bad stuff he did without the Bad Batch, coming back, being reacclimated into the family, being brought back into the Batch, and then fighting alongside them, but then having to be the only one that survives after they all let him in. And obviously he fights alongside them and loses all of them, but having to carry the weight of keeping on the legacy of the Batch as the last alive member, with whether it's with Omega or not, rather than it be where he does the sacrifice play of, you all welcome to be back when I turn my backs on you, so now I'm going to be here for you in my final moment. I just, as much as that is like an easy answer for that, I just think him carrying the weight of his decisions and using them to persevere with his legacy is so much more impactful as one of the last clones than it is where he dies in that moment and sacrifices himself. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That makes sense.
no, for sure.
I could see it. It's tough. Like every week, I'm like, we're gonna start to be able to piece the puzzle together.
And where is Echo?
I know.
I find it odd that, like, I'll be honest. What are Echo and Rex doing? What are they doing?
What are they doing?
Yeah.
And
what
Gregor,
is more important
it's,
than this?
It's them. Yeah, I'm like, at this point, they're trying to get the clones back. All their clones are wiped out except for a handful. Wolf is already on the Empire's side. Where are they? What are they doing?
The only reason why I think that maybe we don't see the whole at the end of the show, it would make sense to see the whole inciting incident of why Rex retires, but that's the only thing of like, you're right, it's a lot to there are a lot of loose ends to tie up in 4 episodes left, so maybe there is another show afterwards in like a Tales of the Bounty Hunters where it talks about Asajj or something later on, and we see Rex at some point in there, and that's where like Asajj has to go on a mission and Rex helps him, and it's Rex getting over that thing of like, Asajj was my enemy for so long, but the enemy of my enemy is my friend, regardless of Asajj having this turned path now of Rex helping out, get kids there, and then being like, all right, that was my last mission for now. And what's the planet that they retire on?
Selos
Green. And they go live there with Gregor and they hunt giant dune fish.
Yeah.
With Zeb as bait.
The what is it? The Jupa? That's what they call it. I mean, like, I'm not against there being another show. Again, as long as it's done well. Someone made the point, they were like, well, like, if it doesn't end here, what's the point of a Bad Batch? So I'm like, the show's called The Bad Batch. It's not called The Clones, you know? And granted, like, I personally don't really want a show beyond Bad Batch like that is regarding the clones, because I think that should be a story that should resolve itself. We were talking a little bit about it the other day, and when I went back and watched Rebels, when I watched those episodes, the way they're talking is, one, like they never fought the Empire in the first place, and two, like they're talking more about the Clone Wars rather than anything. And Rex is like, my fight is done, you know? And obviously that's like because Rebels came out before. And so like they just didn't know, but like the way they talk, I'm like, I do think Rex has to wrap it up here pretty soon. But there is some interesting points of like, Wolf is still in contact with the Empire. The Empire gets the call and they're like, oh, it's just a bunch of retired clones. Like, didn't we decommission them? Which makes you think, okay, so maybe whatever happens to the clones, if it does happen on Tantiss, the Empire is like, the grand scheme of the Empire does not know what actually happened with the clones. Maybe they do get free and then they're like, oh, they just got decommissioned, you know? Like,
yeah, we
still
just
have stuff
lost
with
a ton of
Chuchi.
clones and we don't know which they were, because look, at the end of the day, I don't think the Empire at its height, other than maybe like Vader, would care about Rex at this point. He's not a high-level survivor in terms of clones or the Clone Wars. So when they leave, that's why I'm saying the inciting incident has to be as bad as it is as a good enough send-off for Rex to be like, I'm done with the fight, because I don't think Rex is going to have that Kenobi moment of like, it's all bad, depressed, everything sucks, like I lost all of my friends, all of my family, and goes into this depressed hut on a sand planet. I don't think that that's what's going to happen to Rex. And then when we see him, he's that old guy, because in Rebels, Rex is still like, as much as it is the end of his fight, he's still like kind of the hopeful old guy at that point.
He's like, oh, I'm Captain Rex, you know.
Yeah,
he's
still like the war veteran, like he's
thinking
proud
back on his
of what
glory
he did.
days. Yeah,
exactly. So I don't, because if there's something where it's that bad where Rex goes off, that would be sick. If Rex goes off, if it's a bad thing that makes him retire, he's not going to be that happy-go-lucky come the time we see him next.
Yeah.
Unless he does something else later on. But
he doesn't care as much about the clones right now as he cares. Sorry, the Empire as much as he cares about getting the clones out. Granted, I don't think he's a fan of the Empire. He even disses the TKs in or the Stormtroopers in, which is very interesting, because I'm like, he's like, oh, like how they're not as, he says something about the Stormtroopers not being good as us or whatever, but he says it almost like he heard it through the grapevine rather than like, bro, you fought TK troopers yourself, you know they suck. So I know it might be, it's a little bit of a continuity error. It's fine. We haven't even talked about episode 2 yet.
Yeah. So before we get into episode 2, we have a word from our sponsors.
I have something here for you. Cerveza Cristal. Cerveza Cristal.
Dude, I could use a Cerveza Cristal right now.
So, what'd you guys think about the second episode, Grayson?
It's great, but dude, we lost the Razor Crest, and now we've lost the Marauder. Is there no peace among the stars? Among the Star Wars? No, because it's a war. But I liked it. I'm just like, and Omega gets captured again, and Crosshair misses.
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
I mean, the episode was good, but it was like, I felt like it was too predictable. Like the minute they destroyed all the ships, I'm like, okay, there's no way they're getting off. They have no ships. And then I'm like, well, they could probably call, and they're like, oh, they're blocking the comms. Like, that was predictable. And the way they were closing in, like, I knew Omega was going to do the right thing and sacrifice herself. So
she always does.
Yeah, she always does. So a lot of it I saw coming, but I did love the freaking gunships, bro. And that one,
dude, what'd you think about when he takes out the dudes in the gunship like a G?
Badass. That one shot was gorgeous when Omega looked up at the top of the mountain and you saw like the destroyer come down and then the gunships fly out. I'm like, yo, that is cinema. That shot right there, gorgeous.
Fans here.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, I love it. It was so sick. Like, they had a kind of first order thing going on where they were like, they sent in the shuttles and they're just burning stuff, you know?
Yeah, they did. They did.
But it was interesting that they kind of like all scattered, but then, you know, when the Clone X, of course, lands his ship in the exact same cave that Ventress landed hers in, I'm like,
is that one cave there?
That's
the only cave?
That's just that's the hiding spot, you know?
Yeah.
But then he blows up the Marauder, and then Wrecker gets knocked out. Like, I mean, it was all like, it wasn't like all over the place in like a bad way, but I'm like, bro, the Bad Batch, they were all over the place this episode.
Did Gonki survive? Because Wrecker grabbed Gonki and then the explosion. Did we see Gonki afterwards? Okay, good. I'd rather Gonki survive than Wrecker.
Wrecker, that's insane. Wrecker knocked out. Crosshair misses the final shot.
Fumbled.
That
Hunter diced up. Echo in a different show. He's in Star Trek right now. Tech dead. Like, they are Omega captured. They are like, the batch is in a bad spot, ladies and germs.
They put the bad in the Bad Batch this week. I will say, I don't fully, I mean, I know someone mentioned earlier, I think it was Meredith up in the chat was saying that Hunter is going to kill Crosshair for missing that shot.
Or for letting her get captured. I bet
being like, why would you let her do that?
Yeah,
yeah. But I will say, in Crosshair's defense, like he got shut out, and he had basically no chance at that point.
Yeah.
Or Crosshair assumes that he's going to be reprimanded for it and has to tell Hunter, and he does the honesty play, and Hunter's like, we'll figure this out together.
Oh, I like
what
that.
It'll be of like the family aspect of it. I don't think it'll be Hunter goes at him again, because at this point, like, Hunter and Crosshair are doing stuff together. They're walking around Pabu together. As much as Crosshair was training his sniper stuff, like, he's doing more with Hunter as like friends rather than brothers at this point.
Yeah.
I just don't think I would prefer it to be like a call to action thing for Hunter of like, Omega trusted you, I trust you, let's go save Omega, sort of deal.
The thing is now, though, that's the whole plan was like to put a tracker on the ship so they could find out where Tantiss is. Now they just don't know. So now that, I mean,
Emery R is going to help.
Emery, or what if Rex and Echo are doing some work and they get the coordinates from some crazy mission they've been doing, and they pop up and like, oh, I know where it is. Let's go.
Yeah.
Listen, I won't be mad about the Rex and Echo thing if they contact Rex and Echo and they're like, we're actually on the cusp of finding where it's at. Like, come help us, and we can get her back. You know, we can save all the clones.
The help is going to be it's going to be Emery helping out, because they set up so much of like, as soon as she went to go watch how the clones were delivered by Cad Bane and the other bounty hunters, of like asking questions of like, what planet is she from? Where is her family? And Cad Bane's like, the less you know, the better, or whatever he says.
He says like, the more you ask gives away a lot. Which means like you care more than like you ask all these questions that you truly care. You know,
exactly. So I think
good line.
Her understanding that, obviously giving the straw Lula to what's her name at the end, to Eva at the end. Shout out Wally. No shout out Wally.
Hater, bro.
How does this keep coming back up?
That's honestly, as soon as she said her name, I was like, we're doing it again, boys.
Yeah.
But Emery giving that straw Lula to Eva and realizing how brutal and like lifeless it is, of down to like, don't refer to them as their names, don't ask them questions, just refer to them as their code number and their specimens, like they are just experiments. Don't develop a relationship with them like she already did with
specimen.
It's just the first two letters of specimen.
I tried to figure it out too.
I was thinking special person.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's just specimen. I had that same thought though too. Like, special, what is P? Oh, specimen. Duh.
Yeah, makes sense. They do refer to them as specimens anyway.
By
the way, I'm not crazy. The doll is called a Tuca doll. The one that Omega has is called Lula. Fight me, guys. Remember, because I was saying like, oh, it's like a Katuka doll or something.
Get that tatted next to your Jedi symbol.
I agree with you. I thought it was just the name of the. It's like if you have a stuffed animal cow, they're not all called cow.
Yeah,
you don't know. Yeah, it is.
They're all named Wally sucks.
So what's the sadder loss? The loss of the Razor Crest or the Marauder? I have
Razor Crest.
Razor Crest all the
way. Bro. The N1 looks really cool, but it does not make sense for a bounty.
It has no function for Mando. He lost all of his guns. He has no way to capture bounties. It's just him and his little clown car. Like,
yeah, his little hot rod.
Justice for Mando's original ship. The N1 sucks.
I told Cole when he did our Mando season 1 retrospective, because I love the Razor Quest. Razor Quest? Yeah.
I was such a big fan of the Razor Quest.
I was like, it'd be cool if he got a bigger ship that had the N1 in it to be like, put that ship on autopilot, hop in the N1, almost like a deployment ship, you know?
Yeah.
But
like
when Mando,
like the Ghost in the Phantom.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. I've always been like, when they were in the Bo-Katan's whatever it was called, I was like, bro, her ship is so much cooler.
What's that called? What's Bo-Katan's ship called? I forgot. It has a cool name.
It does have a cool name, and they had the cool like gyro thing. As it's sick, but yeah, the Marauder blowing up. I was like,
the Gauntlet.
The Gauntlet.
Yeah,
dope ship. The Mando
fly
ships
around
are
in my
dope.
gauntlet.
What it honestly would be sick is if the N1 was a ship that flew into another ship. Is like, Tony, you'll probably get this reference. Grayson, I know you'll get this reference of like,
Mm.
do you remember
It's about the Bat Pod.
dude
The
of like the
Batmobile.
Batmobile where you used to be able to
Yeah.
shoot it out, and there was the
A bike
motorcycle
would
that was in
come
the
out.
middle.
Yeah, yeah,
Bike would come out.
yeah.
Yep.
That was like Keaton's
Goodbye.
Batmobile, right? Keaton's
Yep.
Batmobile did that. Yeah, that was amazing.
I know they do it.
Oh.
The Tumblr has that bike thing, but
Kind
then
of,
also
yeah.
there.
They do it in
It looked
all
like
of them.
it looked like the Batmobile from the animated series was like the middle pod, and then there was one where
Yeah.
like Batman could sit in it, and then there was a bat cycle that Robin would sit on, and you
Mm.
could shoot the bat cycle that Robin was on out of it, and like that
Oh,
way you
yeah.
had two vehicles as opposed to one.
That'd be sick.
Yeah,
So
that'd be
what-
sick.
So what ship are the Bad Batch going to use now? We got. Oh, next week is Juggernaut. Okay, cool. Well,
I think
we
we
know what
got
they're doing.
everything from the trailer except for the scene where they're on the side of that mountain and Wrecker jumps from the tank. Wait, no, did that happen already?
No,
that'll happen this upcoming episode with Juggernaut.
But it looked like the Marauder, but I guess it was a different ship. I thought he was jumping into the
it's
Marauder.
Fee's ship.
Fee's ship. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're on the ramp, and Fee is like, "Bee."
That's the only thing we haven't gotten yet. We got everything else almost in this episode.
Except
Guys,
for that,
it's gonna
and then
get so
when
bad.
when the tank is going down the bridge and everything's exploding.
Yeah,
Those
that should
two
be that
things.
same episode. Yeah. So,
Mm.
yeah, Juggernaut. I don't know what to expect.
I feel like this is going to be a job for Rex and Echo. They're like, we need some heavy duty something. Let's get that would be actually really sick if they pulled up to Tantiss and a Juggernaut, like all of them, and like just bulldoze their way.
Do you want to know
I
what my weird theory for the last episode is?
Go for it, man.
So the title is "The Cavalry Has Arrived." Everybody, so it's strangely polarizing. People thinking that Darth Vader is going to come back or not wanting Vader to come back.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
If
Yeah,
Vader
you're
was
right.
going, if Vader was going to come back in any episode, I would love for Vader to come back in the last episode, because the last episode title, "The Cavalry Has Arrived," is obviously what Wrecker says in the first appearance of the Bad Batch, right? That mission is with the 501st and Anakin when they start off that way. It would be a very cool bookend if the start of the Bad Batch was with Anakin and the end of the Bad Batch was with Vader. I would really dig that. And obviously,
Let's go.
Palpatine saying, like, this is of the utmost importance. Like, who would he put on that other than his right-hand man, his top dog in charge of,
Apprentice.
yeah, of like going to make sure something gets done. It's obviously Vader. And who's better at working with and killing clones at this point other than Vader? Like,
Because he knows that way their tactics.
exactly. So that's my thing of like, if there was an episode where Vader was going to show up, I would love for "The Cavalry Has Arrived" to have a dark twist to it, as opposed to the hopefulness of them showing up at that episode in the Clone Wars. I just think that would be a really cool, like, not necessarily parallel, but like spin, like a 180 on going from that hope
Yeah.
to that darkness of now they're losing. It's the end
Yeah.
of their story, and it's not a good ending.
What if the cavalry is Vader showing up with a bunch of stormtroopers? That's
Yeah.
the cavalry has arrived.
Yeah.
That'd be sick, man.
Or honestly, now that we're talking about it, the first issue of those Dark Troopers, and it's just a ton of them get released, and
Oh,
you see like a bay door open, and there's just a swarm of those CX troopers that are the original, like the closest version we see to that Dark Trooper stuff. So
that would be cool. I think we're definitely gonna have more of the Clone X Dark Trooper, whatever. By the finale. Rest in peace, Pabu. By the way, not that I'm gonna miss it that much.
I would
but-
not say that I would hate it, but I would be a little bit underwhelmed if it was.
we don't-
Ahsoka.
We
don't need it,
need
but I would be
Ahsoka.
underwhelmed. I also don't think at this point in what Ahsoka is doing, is she ready to continue helping the Empire at this, or helping the Rebels at this point? She's not back in it yet.
Yeah, I think she needs a little bit more time before. I mean, we do know, I think it at some point actually after Clone Wars that Rex and Ahsoka do see each other again before like he goes off, like, but it's been a long time, you know, like it's still been at least a good like 10 years because Ahsoka knows where Rex is at.
Isn't
She
Rex Fulcrum at this point?
currently?
Yeah, Rex is Fulcrum at this point.
So
Which
maybe there's
is
a point where she
why-
passes it off to Ahsoka.
Exactly, that's going to be part of the inciting incident of what causes Rex to retire, and then Ahsoka is who gets the Fulcrum call sign after Rex retires and pulls off, which is why so much cooler in Rebels when she sees him again for the first time is because the last time she saw him, he was leaving the fight, and now he is returning to the fight.
Yeah. So
True.
maybe Ahsoka? I don't know. But then it makes me think there's going to be another show or something, you know, like
There has to be another show. I don't know if it's going to be about clones or about Asajj, but there's going to be another show in between this and Rebels.
I think I'm just a little, and this is just me. I mean, I'm not going to complain, but if I had to choose a show that they do after this, I want it to be in a different time period for a little bit. That's what I think.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
It's the same thing of like Clone Wars ended, and the next thing that picks up is Rebels. It's like, show us something else that's going on. Please be post Return of the Jedi, but like something else that's going on in terms of an animated series, and then whatever happens in that maybe sheds light on what happened with Rex and Ahsoka, because there's a lot of Ahsoka's time before Rebels that we still don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
So I would assume Dave knows what goes on during that period, and whatever it's going to be, it's probably going to be earth-shattering history in terms of whatever goes on with Ahsoka based on the way that he drops stuff of like, whoa, she did that. So whatever it is. But I also I would love for whatever happens after this. Do you guys feel differently about the meme of somehow Palpatine returned because of this? Because of the more fleshed out that Project Necromancer get? Does it make what happened in Rise of Skywalker better for you guys in terms of like chewing on it?
Kind of. It's one of those things where like I'm still gonna maybe laugh or roll my eyes or poke fun at, even if they do fully explain it with the somehow Palpatine returned, because I'm gonna be like, at the time, it's the same thing with like people complained about, Anakin, like, he's just killing kids now, you know, like, and then we got Clone Wars, so now it's easier to digest that because it's so intrinsic in our memory when we think about it. So depending on how they stick the landing and set up whatever's happening from Bad Batch, and even with what we get in Mando, and you know what all of that stuff, it does make that is one of the main plot things that I really had a problem with in the sequels. Like if I had to choose two things, it would be that and Luke becoming so jaded without us being able to see that. Those are my two things, and I was like, I can get by everything else with the Canto Bite stuff or whatever. Like I can live with that, right? Because not always Star Wars isn't always perfect, but I'm like, those are the two things that I think matter the most. So I would say, so far, yes, it is helpful to have the context.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, it is helpful. It might get a little better once the story finishes in Bad Batch, but still, every time I see that meme or see that part, that line, it's just gonna make me laugh. It's like ingrained in my brain. Like,
yeah. I think it is making. Look, I think I'm tasting the Kool-Aid at this point of like, okay, it's making that a little bit better for me. This is kind of like how people refer to the Clone Wars as like making the prequels better, and people who didn't like the prequels watch the Clone Wars and they like the prequels more. I really think that this Bad Batch and whatever comes after this might help that out. I still would love the show post Return of the Jedi that makes me like the stuff that goes on in the sequels more.
That's what I want the most.
That's not necessarily Resistance, but like post Return of the Jedi of Luke with the Jedi Order, and like there's obviously that theory of Mara Jade dying, and that's part of what breaks Luke a little bit more to then go into the hiding that he does, and be a little bit off his game of the fleeting shadow sort of deal, as he's already had so
His
much
heart
loss.
isn't in building up the Jedi.
It's his wife just died and all that stuff, which is cool. Outside of that, something I did really enjoy was I think one of the first times we hear the newer stormtroopers talk in this episode, it's Steve Blum's voice
from Rebels,
which is because he does all the voice of obviously Zeb, but all of the stormtroopers in Rebels.
But sir,
it's getting closer to that point of the stormtroopers. That's just a cool nod, because I don't think he's done a voice of stormtroopers in this show so far. I feel like I would have caught it. But
yeah, I can't think of one. I mean, maybe, and I'm just not paying attention.
But
a lot of them.
When it was that voice, I was like, oh, that is 100% Steve Blum. And that was just a cool nod to like the shift closer into Rebels. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My one wish for the end of this show is I do hope we see the switch from the TK troopers to regular stormtroopers, because those models already exist. The end of Clone Wars Season 7 is like full Empire era. By Fallen Order, which is only 5 years after, they're already in full Empire gear. So I hope by the end of that not even if it's all the like the TKs are completely gone, just a couple of like, here's the new stormtrooper armor, right? And I think that would be prime to show off in the finale. So imagine like TKs and commandos and dark troopers or Clone X or whatever's,
there's so many different versions. That would be sick, dude. Honestly, I want a TK helmet as much as I want some of the other Bad Batch, like a Black Series
helmet. They're sick,
dude. I would love a TK helmet to get made by Black Series, because I mean they're the freaking Macquarie helmets. They look so sick.
Dope.
I would love one just right there, dude. That would be. I love those helmet designs. Honestly, I love the full trooper designs, and then the ones that had like the goggles and the
poncho.
That was so sick.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah,
so
I'm a big fan.
Before we get out of here, I got let's take a look at those 2 new pictures that dropped from Empire for the Acolytes. So
I didn't even. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they dropped an article. I guess there was an interview. I didn't watch it yet, but there's 2 pics. So there's this one. I'm not gonna lie, these robes look kind of sick.
Oh, I love them. I love the earthy gold color. She has a Jedi symbol on her belt.
Wow, she got the braid too. I never noticed her with the Padawan braid. I don't think, but
dude, I need that belt. That goes hard.
Oh
it's
my
a bummer
god,
she doesn't have the High Republic logo on her belt. That would make more sense to me, but whatever.
Yeah,
I got a part in High Republic where they say that the Jedi Order is a living sunrise, and I think you're a bozo.
I kind of wish she would have been like.
Maybe I need your breakdown to make me feel better about it, Grayson.
I kind of wish she was more like humanoid and not alien, just because I want to look at her and see X-23 but older. But yeah, so we got this shot right here, which is cool. Yeah, and then it's another one of her.
Imagine if she just had 2 horns in the front and 1 horn in the back, like X-23's claws.
Oh God!
That's
and
great.
there's this one right here out in the woods of who knows with her saber ignited.
Ooh, leave this up for a second. I saw something said today, and I never really noticed it before with new Disney stuff. But the way saber blades look now are more of like a solid beam of white with the glow around it, as opposed to like the prequels and the original trilogy, where it was more of an outline. The outline was thicker of what color the blade would be, and the white in the middle was smaller. And obviously it's because they use different sabers now for training of they're actually lit up just to do more of the lighting aspect of what's going on, and then they go back and rotoscope in an actual blade for it. But like, I don't know, I kind of agree with that statement of like, it's not a big thing for me, but it's also like you can definitely tell the difference of a saber like that versus like the way like Dooku's saber looks in Revenge of the Sith. You know what I mean?
Are you saying you like this better or worse?
It's just a little, for lack of a better term, wider for me.
I think I'm looking at the blades because there's a lot. All of the movies actually have slightly different blade styles and flickers and things like that.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot of this through like just getting into saber stuff. But these are very, very prequel-esque looking blades, almost Phantom Menace style. When you look at them.
But the white is so much thicker, is what I'm Like if
Yeah.
I pull up like
it's
you think
it's
so?
green, but it's not like green. I see what you're saying now.
it's more of like white with a green glow around it, as opposed to.
I will say green blades often their look changes a lot. Where like you look at something like Return of the Jedi, he's on a bright planet where it looks more like emerald green, where this looks more like forest, kind of like a deeper green, like a viridian green.
Yeah, I guess the color I really don't have any problem with, but like
you just don't like the. I didn't bat an eye when I looked at the blade.
it's more like, well, yeah, it's more like that of like that looks. I guess for me, it's more like I can tell that one is CGI and one is like an actual prop that they're using.
Yeah.
Like that to me looks like she's holding a saber that you would get from any of these saber companies now, and they just added a little bit more glow to it.
Versus this, yeah.
I don't mind. But I mean, I can see what you're talking about. Yeah, she got on her belt.
It's not a bad thing. It's just something I noticed where I'm like, oh, it does look a little different from whatever. Yeah. I dig it, and obviously more lightsabers the better. I don't care. Show me a vroom vroom any day, but like,
yeah,
it's just a little bit of a stylistic choice. Which, look, I really like the way that they're using the sabers now in terms of a lighting aspect of what they're filming, and they don't have to go in and put in like just thinking of Qui-Gon in the prequels of like how often do you really see the reflection of the saber on what they're doing? It's just kind of like there's a lit up green thing, and then whatever's going on is the lighting on the actual.
Pull up the picture of Qui-Gon again. He has like no green.
Like you can,
like there's like a little bit right there, but that's it.
Yeah, obviously it's darker, so you would see it more. Like this is lighting up the darkness, but like
I always think of this one key art from Jedi Outcast where we're like this. It's Kyle Katarn, but it's not Kyle Katarn. It's like this weird different version of him, and he's like fighting these stormtroopers, and it's like in a really dark room. And I always love seeing like the blue on like the walls and stuff. So when I see like new stuff like this, I'm like seeing that like that green hit their face, or like. It feels more like I'm in a video game, like this lightsaber's actually lighting the thing up, which I like.
Yeah, that's something that they do really well in the Fallen Order Survivor.
Yeah, dude.
Jedi series, like
when you get to hold it up and use it like a torch.
Dude, so
sick. Yeah, that's so much fun.
But I love it, I think it's great.
You can tell the difference.
Yeah.
It's especially because also I think you mentioned the middle part being thicker in the prequels. Like those little rods were really thin.
Yes,
like they bit all the time, and so these are like thicker 1-inch blades.
Yeah,
typically like I don't know what thickness of blades they use for a lot. I'm going to assume 1-inch blades, but even then with like a lot of lightsabers nowadays. Some use 7/8-inch blades and some use 1-inch. I want to say for like Ahsoka, for example, not the character but the show. I think Shin's lightsaber uses a 7/8-inch blade, so it's a little bit thinner, whereas Balin's uses a 1-inch blade, so it's a little bit thicker. And I think you could probably, when you compare them, they look I think Ahsoka also uses 7/8-inch blade, but then Sabine uses a 1-inch.
That's what she said.
All right.
Goodbye. Yeah, no, so this is what Jecki Lon is her name, or Jekai Lon. I think it's Jecki.
Yeah,
she's so dead. I mean, I guess they all die eventually, but
no, one's really gone.
There is the Force,
and she got your Jedi symbol belt that you're gonna get.
That I'm getting that, dude. That goes hard.
All right,
cry about it, Will. Cry.
It's not my favorite.
The Force will be with you always.
All right, guys. I'm hungry. So appreciate all you guys in the chat, all 40 plus of you guys. If you guys aren't subscribed to Mortis FM, go over there.
200, baby, today. Thank you, guys.
Yes. Congrats on 200 today. I'm going to put the link in the chat real quick. Subscribe, like, and we'll see you jabronis next week. So, toodaloo.